Okay, so it's 6:42. I'm gonna go to the gym, but I just thought that I would give a little demonstration of how I study language. I think that it can help people understand how to develop an overall like language proficiency in terms of foreign languages. So I have a whole bunch of language books here, and I just select the ones that I want to try, and I go through them one by one and just read until I get tired of it. What it does is it develops like my language neurons, as it were, the circuits in my brain that deal with language interpretation, vocabulary, grammar, syntax, stuff like that, pronunciation. So, yeah, some of these are grammars, some of these are vocabulary, some of these are reading books, some of these are just intro books, some of these have pronunciation, some of these I have to remember, right? So let's go. So the first one I see here is Basic Persian Grammar in Workbook. So I've studied Persian before, so a lot of these words I already know. So I'm just skipping to see something that looks doable. Okay, here's a list of basic vocabulary. That's easy. They have the English transliteration there, and then they have the definition, so that's easy. So what I do for this is I try not to look at the English, but I do because it's just kind of like for fun. So, but I'll just cover up the English and see if I can just read the Arabic script. Fasil is a chapter, unit, season. Oh, fosul. See, I had to check the English because I was wrong. Esme, I know is name, and that's from Arabic. Sefat is an adjective. I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, esme is also a noun. And that's funny too because it comes from Arabic name, but it reminds me of how in Spanish the word nombre is related to the English word name, but also I think it's related to the word noun in Latin, back in Latin. Okay, so esme, sefat, sefat. And then va means and. Yeah, and, okay. Mofrad, I don't know. Mofrad means singular. And then jam means plural, okay. Kasre, I don't know what that means. It's the symbol for the E vowel. I thought that was the Hamza or something. I guess that's different. Oh no, I was thinking of the Ezafe. The Ezafe is like a connecting word to say like his, like kitab I forgot how to say his. I say my. Kitab man means my book. Okay. Again, kitab is also from Arabic. Zan, I know, is a woman. Mard is a man. And then khonam is like young lady or madam. Agha is like a sir or gentleman. Dokhtar actually, it sounds like Old English daughter, right? It's actually pronounced the same, funnily enough, but it means sister in this case, or girl. I forgot. Oh, girl or daughter. So both, okay. Pesar sounds like pisser. Pesar means boy or son. I remember that much. There's pesar, then Mauder. Mauder is exactly what it sounds like. And it's funny how, because Farsi is an Indo-European language, so it really is connected to Germanic languages, Latin languages, Slavic languages, Northern Indian languages like Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali, Punjab, stuff like that. It's also related to other Iranian languages like Pashto and Kurdish, which I have next, funnily enough. Anyway, so I just go through, and then I'll read Pedad. Okay, then I'll go through this, but since this is a little short video, I'm not going to go through the whole thing until I get tired, until I'm like, okay, I'm tired of this, I want something else to taste. That keeps my attention, and since I'm not specializing in any of these languages, right, what it does is it gives me a general fluency, and it kind of keeps my mind active, and it keeps new neurons forming, new synapses forming and potentiating, right, stronger connections being made. And because I'm going through all this universe of languages, those languages that I'm specializing, which right now are Mandarin, Vietnamese, and Spanish primarily, those are that much more familiar, right? Because now I'm doing Kurmanji Kurdish. Does anybody know what that is? Not in this country, not around here, but I know it's very much related to Farsi. It's an Indo-European language, and Kurds are pretty interesting, their situation. Anyway, so I look, this is the alphabet. Here we have some basic sentences, and I mostly remember how to pronounce this, but it doesn't give me a guide. See, here's little sentences here. Okay. U, 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 shir-e. And I know shir is milk in Farsi too. That means that is milk. And the a is like the is. Oh, no. I think the u is like, no, the u is like this, I'm pretty sure. U, he, she, it. Okay, so it, milk, is. U, shir-e is the question. U, shir-e, u, shir-e, or u, shir-e, eu, shir-e. Ev, zilam, in. These are men. So the in, I know that's a plural marker. And Kurdish, like Farsi, it attaches these modifying suffixes at the end of the words. And it's really cool because in Farsi, it's actually really easy to learn, unlike some other languages, like some of these Slavic languages from what I've heard. So zilam, in, is different because I don't know if there's a word like that in the zilam in Farsi. Ev is the plural, they. I think, is it? Yes, it is. Right? It has to be. I don't see it, but it has to be. Okay. Ev, zilam, in. Yes, these. Okay, these. U, mamoste, ye. So mamoste, that almost sounds like a word in Farsi, but it's not. But Mo'alam is teacher in Farsi. That's the one I remember. So that's different. U, mamoste, ye. Ev, ki, ye. So you see, as I'm going through this, I'm also refreshing my Farsi. Just like when I read Farsi, I'm also refreshing my Arabic, and also sometimes when I'm refreshing my knowledge of Germanic and Romance languages, because you can see their relatives, their cousins, as it were, in Farsi. So I go down this list. U, pirek, in. They are women, so that pirek, that's unfamiliar to me, but that means women. Ev, pirek, e. This is the woman or a woman. Ev, nan, e. Now there's another gold one because nan is nan in Kurdish, in Farsi, in India, and then in Chinese, actually, there's the word nang. Nang is what you call the equivalent of naan, which is like flatbread, in Xinjiang. So that's one of those cool things where you see this word naan going, I mean, not that it started in Kurdish, but you can see how it's the same across the region from Kurdistan, right? The Syria area, and like Syria, Iraq, that area over there, and Iran, all that area. And then, of course, in Iran, it's Nan or Noon, depending upon your pronunciation. And then India, it's also Nan. In Pakistan, it's Nan. You go up Afghanistan, it's got to be Nan, I'm guessing. In Pashto, I don't know, but in Dari, which is the version of Farsi they speak in Afghanistan, you go up to Xinjiang. In Xinjiang, it's Nang, and it's a funny character to write in Chinese. So anyways, again, you're building if you try this, what I'm doing is I'm building this vast kind of international web of languages in my mind. So then it says, U gosht e, gosht, I know is meat in Farsi too. And then this one, khwendekar, this is a khwen. It reminds me of one of the consonants or some of the words in Pashto. Pashto is also an Iranian language. It's not Farsi, neither is Kurdish, but these are both in the Iranian language family. And those are Indo-European languages, meaning from, the Scandinavian languages, Russian, Slavic, Greek, Albanian, all of those, even Armenian, which is a loner. Khwendekar in. Oh, Khwendekar is students. Now, I don't remember how to say students in Farsi, but I just remembered it in Vietnamese because I learned that recently. And then here, masiye, fish, ev masiye. Now in Farsi it's mahi, and mahi is a kind of fish. So that's a funny thing. Then we have uchiye. Now, chi is what? Chi is also related to Italian che and Spanish que. It's really the same word. If you go back in time, these are cognates, or as I prefer to call them, word cousins, because that makes more sense. They come from a common ancestor. Then, this one, very much like a Romance language, tu ki. Tu ki. Tu, like in Spanish, tu. Ki, like quien in Spanish. It's something similar in Italian and other Romance languages. In French, I don't remember. Anyways, so we go, this is what I would do. I would just go, I wouldn't be talking as I'm doing it. I would just be reading through it until I'm bored. Now we have Irish. Irish has been hard to learn because of the rules of reading. Lenition and eclipsis. I know it can't be that complicated, but it's intimidating for me. So then this, when I read Irish, I look for something with a transliteration. Here we go. So, aron, bene, or bagne, bon, berla, bialun, boachul, kelin, dunna, ire, fer, gelge, sosona, school, talk, ishke. I remember ishke is either water. No, it's water, because that's where the word whiskey comes from. So I just read through this without looking at the English equivalent, just to get a sense of the pronunciation. Because you know how a lot of times when people will hear a language and they'll think, oh, that sounds Asian, right? It drives me crazy, because to me there's no such thing as an Asian language, because they're all different, you know what I mean? But when I've done this for students will say that sounds Asian or that sounds Middle Eastern, and there's reasons for that. Even though the languages aren't in the same family, there's a consistent set of sounds that spread, and in linguistics they call this a Sprachbund, or a speaking area. So I do this because the Gaelic languages do have some common sounds and a common flavor. So I read through these without looking at the English words, because I'm trying to get my mouth tasting Gaelic again, or Irish. Okay, so I see Ishke, ul. See, now it's too Norwegian. Then I say me, tu, she, she, muid, shin, shied, chain. And those are like pronouns. I, me, you, him, we, us. Okay. So that's how I would do it with Irish. And if I was spending more time, I would get into try and look at the spelling rules. Because there's, depending upon the vowels and stuff, you do pronounce the word, or you pronounce the word differently. It's all very regular, but like I said, it's intimidating. Okay. Here's the easy one, French. I'm not into French. I've taught it a little bit, but it's not my main thing. The cool thing is, Berlitz always has transliterations. So that's what I was looking for in this Irish book, because I can't just read the Irish writing. So I look for transliterations. Transliterations are just using English spelling to make English sounds, so you can make the equivalent without having to read it. French is notorious for having all kinds of things you don't pronounce. Sometimes you pronounce it, sometimes you don't. Like that V-O-U-S, that's vous, right? So there's no S. It's not vous, it's vous. Oh, but here, the S goes on to the next thing. So it's vous êtes Monsieur Smith. That is, you are Mr. Smith. So it's like in Spanish, tú eres Señor Smith. Or in Chinese, 你是 Smith 先生. Or in Vietnamese, it would be Ban la Smith, I think. Yeah. Êtes-vous Monsieur Smith? Are you Mr. Smith? 你是 Smith 先生吗? Then, qui suis-je? We see this qui is who, like quien, and qui in Kurdish. I love it. That's the cool thing about studying related languages. I've never done this with African languages, but I would like to do it with some like Niger Congo languages, or that one even more southern than that. I forget what. There's one group I'm thinking of. I forget what it's called, but it would be fun. Qui êtes-vous? Vous is tu or tu. Tu is in Farsi too, in Kurdish and Spanish and French. Oh no, do they have two in French? Anyways, and the vous is just a more formal way of saying it. And they have this distinction in Farsi, the you, thou distinction, or the usted, tu distinction. They have that in Farsi as well. Then, qui est cette dame? Who's the lady, right? Dame, we know dame, it's a lady. And then set is this. Suis-je le professeur? Suis-je le, oh, suis-je le professeur? Professeur. Now that r is famously hard for English speakers, and Americans make a big deal out of it, and it's one of those things where we sound like, oh, it's kind of some kind of savage throat sound. Americans tend to think this of Arabic too, and really it's just because that sound, r, is back in the throat, is further back in the mouth, and r, it's putting the back of your tongue against the back of your mouth, so that's why it sounds like that. But the cool thing is, if you can do this in French, you have this word, froid, something like that, r, or rouge for red, rouge, or rouge. That r is also in Farsi, al-ra in Farsi, gharam in Farsi, which means pen. Okay, so again, this is very easy for me to go through, and I really don't have to learn it because French is so ubiquitous in American culture, and it's a Romance language, and it's an Indo-European language that I'm literally seeing familiar stuff all the time without really paying attention. Now, Vietnamese. Vietnamese is one of my primary languages right now. It's also a family language for me, so it's very important. So what I do is I just turn randomly to a page, and they're drills. So Vietnamese, I don't need transliteration. I don't need any help, and I don't want any help because this is a primary language. I want to challenge myself and really see, can you actually do this, right? So this is like a little tense. The heat is on. So I see kia la kai yi. So kia is that, is kai, I'm not sure, but yi is who. So I think that's saying who is that? And then I think the answer is kia la chui, but I'm not sure. I think my pronunciation's off right there. Then, kỹ sư tắng mùa giấy yi. And then I think that's kỹ sư, I think is a secretary or engineer, I forget. Maybe engineer. Tang is the name, so it's saying that this person bought a car. So it's saying, oh, who bought? Oh, Muze, who bought the motorbike? Okay. Who bought the vehicle? Really, is what it looks like to me. Who bought the vehicle? And then the answer is they mai. Oh, wait. No. What vehicle did he buy? And then the answer is they mai, which is motorcycle. So you can see I'm already feeling nervous here. Who dai la wo yi. So this, I see already, the answer is something about Tahumoy. It's something about writing a letter or writing vocabulary, I think. Dai la wo, I don't know. I don't remember. See, look at the disappointment on my face. Okay, I'm a little embarrassed. But this is how you test yourself. You don't need to tell yourself, are you good or bad? You just see. And if you can't do it, the great thing about language is that you just keep doing it until you get it right. it's an instinct, right? Or close enough to an instinct. It's biological. It's mostly muscle memory. Language, people forget. People make such a big deal out of it, but it's mostly muscle memory. So it's just like a sport, and it's nothing but movement. And for the most part, you really don't need to overthink it unless that helps you, right? When I read about language and grammar, it helps me to think about this stuff to gain a broader perspective. But when I'm learning it, just doing it is the best thing. So let's go to another one here, number 9. Number 9 is so. Let me see. Một hai ba bốn năm sáu bảy tám chín mười. Keen. I always have a problem with that pronunciation. So keen, I think. It says hai đập tắp chí gì. So đập, I think, is read. Tắp chí, that's got to be magazine, because it's cognate with Chinese. So the cool thing about Vietnamese when I'm studying this is that there's a lot of cognates with Chinese. No, not really cognates. They're loan words, but you can think of them as cousin words because they're descended from earlier forms of Chinese and earlier dialects. So when you're reading, if you study Mandarin, when you're reading Vietnamese, you'll see a lot of words that are basically the same. So dap is like du in Mandarin. So dap ji, and then da. It basically means 读杂志. Dap ji means read a magazine. 读杂志. 杂志啊. Anyways. 好 定义 好 定义. That means which language is hao, and then my pronunciation, I'm not sure. Hao. Which pronunciation is this which language is this person studying? This person is studying Vietnamese. Okay, so I would go until I'm tired. Then I have this book. It's another one. It's Mandarin in Vietnamese. And this is good because, as I was just saying, a lot of the words in Vietnamese, you can find them in Chinese too if you know the changes in pronunciation. And the Mandarin words in Vietnamese are basically just pronounced differently the way they would be in different versions of Chinese across China. So that's pretty cool. Now, completely different language family, but still, Japanese also has a lot of words from Chinese that you can recognize if you know both the languages fairly well. So this one is just hiragana, which actually is a little bit harder for me because when they have kanji, which are the Chinese characters, because I already know Chinese, that's a lot easier. So I see the hiragana, and then there's a little guide. This is the list of hiragana, and you can remember the vowels. Starts with the vowels a, I, u, e, o, ga, ki, ku, ke, ko, sa, shi, su, se, so, and then what? Ta, chi, tsu, te, to, and then it goes on and on. So you can use that as a guide when you forget these. Okay, but I know the first one. Mo is eyes. Ki is tree. Toke is watch. This is a picture of a watch. Tsuku is desk. Mado is a window. And then this looks like nugare, I think. And then that's glasses. And then this one is that's washi, I think, hat. And then shinbun, that's easy because that sounds like shinwan, which is news. Shinbun is like a newspaper. So I mean it's easy because it's basically the same word in Chinese. And then seiken, I think that's soap. And that's not like Chinese. In Chinese, it's 肥皂. It doesn't sound anything like it, as far as I know. Then I see kite, which means stamp. That's easy enough. kipo, which is a ticket, and then 杂志. Now, I just saw the word 打 I forgot, something like that. That means magazine, and it comes from Chinese 杂志. And this word 杂志, I already know means magazine in Japanese. It's the same word. Then, densho is train, and chu chorin, I think that means cup, or is it charin? Maybe because cha means tea in Chinese and Vietnamese and Japanese, and anyways, a lot of languages. Okay, then kyokai, kyokai, uh, kyokai is church, and then chio is a butterfly. So again, my pronunciation is not perfect. Anyways, then I would do these sentences. Kore wa handes. No, hondes. Hondes. Hondes is a book. Kore wa hondes. Kore wa inbitsu desu. Then I would just read through all these sentences in hiragana until I got tired. You get the idea. Now, 2 Chinese books, right? Why? Because one is for vocabulary and one is like texts. So this is like, through the years I've learned a lot of these stories, but these are like traditional stories that kids learn in China. The loss of a horse. That's something Weng Shima, Sai Weng Shima. It means Sai Weng loses his horse. So I could just start reading that. Why not? And it says, they have pinyin here. Pinyin is a transliteration basically for people who read an alphabet. And I don't really like it because I don't need it in Mandarin, so I'm just going to ignore it. It says, 在靠近边塞的地方住着一位会算命的老人，人们称他为赛文。赛文, so it's just saying there's a guy who lived by the, where did he live? By the border? Yes, so this guy lived by the frontier. I'm imagining it's like the frontier with the West, like somewhere around Xinjiang or something like that. And there was a fortune teller. And so that's the start of the story. Now, this is in modern Mandarin, but originally this text is supposed to be in classic Chinese. They don't have the classic Chinese version, which I didn't know when I bought this book because I ordered it online, and I wouldn't have ordered it if I didn't know that, because I have all these stories are originally in classical Chinese, so I thought it was going to be in classic Chinese, but it's actually readings about classic Chinese stories. So that's disappointing, because studying classical Chinese is almost like a whole other language, really. Okay, anyways, more Mandarin vocabulary. So vocabulary, you're just looking to see, do you know the meaning of the words? And since it's Mandarin vocabulary, really, if you're in a rush, like I am, you're just looking to see, do you recognize these characters, which must be really hard to see with this camera here. But I've looked through this, so I'm just going to turn to a random page here. And ca, wipe, I know that. Cai ci, I think means to guess. Cai gan is ability. Okay, I looked though. Cai zhi is something like competence. Cai is wealth. Cai jing is finance. Cai kuai is something like book, accounting, because that kuai character is usually pronounced hui, but when it's pronounced kuai, I know it has to do with accounting. Cai li. So I know this li here is like a measurement of ability. So cai li must mean your financial ability. Cai wu is easy, that means wealth. Now there's another cai, that means cut. Okay. Cai jue, don't know. Adjudicate or rule. Jue is like to decide or to feel. Cai jun, I know jun is military, so this is disarmament. So like cut the military, cai jun, disarmament. So that's why I would just keep looking. And there's sample sentences where you could test yourself in here. Arabic. Arabic, I studied briefly in China over 10 years ago. So 12 years ago, 13 years ago, just for fun in my free time. I just got books. And that was actually helped me learn Farsi, because the Arabic script is used to write Farsi. So now I can read Farsi because I learned the Arabic script, 13 years ago. So I just look through here. They have sentences here, and they have pictures too, and they have this transliteration, which is the best thing in the world because, again, I'm not trying to really learn Arabic. I'm just giving myself some familiarity with it. So I'll just use the transliteration and glance at the writing. So this looks like it says Aina means where. Aina a taksi. You know, sometimes it's okay if you don't really know how it's pronounced and you want to imagine that you're pronouncing it the right way, because in your mind, whatever you associate with Arabic, even if it's some caricature from some horrible terrorist movie, even if it's that bad, what you're still doing is you're building an association and you're building the connections between the areas in your mind that think of Arabic. And as you go on, you refine your pronunciation, you're creating a new region of your brain that deals with Arabic, right? So I don't know if my pronunciation's perfect, but based on my really cursory understanding, it's good enough for me. So this one, al-hafila. Al-hafila is the bus. Aina is where. Al-utu, al-utubis is the autobus. I saw another word in here that I thought was really cool. Al-on, meaning now. In Farsi, it's al-on, al-un, on, depending on your pronunciation, colloquial or, you know, proper. And there's a lot of words that I'm going to find when I'm looking here that are also in Farsi. Anyways, Arabiya, Arabic, it's pretty easy. Then Rurfa, Rurfa means room. Mar means with, and I think in Farsi, mo means with. What else is here? Bod. No, bod in Farsi. Dar is door. No, dar is in. Bod, it might be door in Farsi too. I don't know. And Sara is clock. Setara. Setara is curtain. Setara. Setara. Kitab. Kitab, that's easy because it's the same in Farsi in a lot of languages. In Swahili, I think it's also kitab as well. Arabiya. Asura. Khuna. I'm just reading al-kalima just to casually put some stuff in my brain, you know, and maybe if I look at 70 words, 20 will stay in there, but then the next time I'll have 20 words that I already know and maybe, let's say, you know, 10 words that are familiar and the rest that after I read them again, then I'll remember them. Everything I'm doing is just to strengthen the connections, to form new connections, right? And to strengthen them. There's something they call in neuroscience dendritic arboration. Arboration, they mean like tree branches or roots. And what they mean is that the ends of your neurons in your brain are basically branching out in different directions and making different connections. And that's something that we're constantly doing. We're reconnecting, disconnecting. So when I'm looking at all this stuff, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm just imagining in my brain different connections forming, strengthening, getting cut, revising, all that stuff, because that's literally the process of learning. I just saw Kim, which means how many, and then I'm thinking Kemi is a little bit in Farsi. Kemi is a little bit. I don't know if it's the same, it's related. Now this is a funny word. Fadlock. Fadlock. I don't even know, what is that, like a postcard? There's a picture of a postcard. Nuredu, Noredo, I don't know. Anyways, that's an example of how I study languages for fun, right? When I'm, like I said, when I'm focusing in on one language, then I will focus on all the parts, right? Sentence structure, sentence grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, other facts about the language that help me learn it, and then eventually you get up to reading and having conversations. Yeah, so I hope that that gives you an idea of how you don't need to worry too much about how to study a language or where to start. You're perfectly free to dive in. because it's not about the right way, it's about how much each time, how much you learn each time. And if, like I said, if that's 10% and you're going for 150, it doesn't matter, because that 10% is going to add up to the next, let's say 5%. Now you got 15%. You know what I'm saying? It's cumulative. And also, I want to impress everybody so you can see, look, I just went through all that stuff. I know a lot about languages. I'm really good with languages, but it's only because I'm just going through it, letting myself go through things randomly, letting my mind adjust, letting my mind adapt, and then also testing myself and focusing in on the languages that I really want to learn and just having fun with the rest. Because won't it be cool if someday I'm out somewhere and somebody's speaking Arabic and I know a few words of what they're saying? Or if somebody's speaking Kurdish, that's not my main language, but I'm like, oh, that's Ev, what? Ev, what? See, I don't remember the word. What? Ev shire, that's water, that's milk, that's milk. See, I'll know something. Anyways, okay. I hope that can encourage you. Let it go, dive in, jump in. It's not about being perfect. It's not about a natural gift. It's not about any of that. Languages is what humans do. Just like cats say meow, 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 we say all this crap. You know what I mean? Good luck. Good luck. Learn it all. Eat it up.